Welcome to the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and the founder of the Write Your Own Story company. Girl, I can tell you right now, you are definitely enough. Here we value service, sisterhood, connection, laughter, and that super genuine, keep it real, tell you like it is honesty. My hope is at the end of each episode, you realize you can do whatever it is you dream about and that you are not alone with what you struggle with. I'm hoping that you are snapping and clapping and hell yes in your way through each one of these episodes. So if this tracks with you, let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and I am here with my dear friend, Ashley.
What's up, everybody?
Oh, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so excited too. Ashley's energy is off the charts. Finally, someone who is like even more bubbly than me. And like, this is going to be a ton of fun. And this is such an important conversation. And I'm so grateful for you driving all the way on here and for making the time because this is going to be awesome.
Yes. I'm excited to have coffee with you and catch up.
Yeah, literally. And that's what these podcasts are. It's just like coffee talk, wine talk, girl talk. It's just two moms sitting down talking about life because none of us are alone in all the things that we go through.
For sure.
Okay, so today's episode is titled A Mom's Journey in Embracing Her Son's Autism. Ashley has 3 kids. We'll get into her bio, but her son Bear is autistic. She has written this amazing book, Be You, Bear. I'm obsessed with it. And first of all, you wrote a book.
Oh, yeah. I'm an author.
Kind of a big deal. And so I think it's such an important conversation for moms to feel seen if they have a child who is autistic, to talk about your journey with it, to if there's someone who is wondering if their child might be autistic, as a friend for how do you support autism. So we'll get into all that. But the number one promise, which I pulled directly from your book for this episode, the intention is to spread a better understanding of autism's challenges, but most importantly, its beauty. Mm-hmm. And that is what I love about this book. Okay, I'm just going to get too excited and not dive in. So that's the promise. So we're here to celebrate autism, to have an honest conversation about it, to talk about it from all perspectives of those who have it in their life, and to just be real about it, and to most importantly celebrate its beauty. So I always like to start off these episodes with how I know my guests. So I was just saying before, I can't believe I've only known you since college.
Yeah.
I feel like I've known you my whole life. And that is one of the most beautiful things about your soul is you're just a warm, snuggly hug. And I'm well, I feel like we just were born in the same hospital. We must have been I don't know.
Twinsies.
Obviously. But we've known each other since college. We didn't even go to college together. So all of my friends from Miami went to Ursuline, which you did. Yep. And all I want is those Ursuline booty shorts that have the paws on the butt. I went to Summit. Yeah, they are the best. I almost told Jenny's every day, but she's 7 times smaller than me. So I was like, that's not going to work.
Shout out Jenny.
Hey, Jenny. And so we would come home and go to the bars in college and meet up. And Ash is and then these girls have just always made me a part of their hangouts. And you guys have such a special group of high school friends. And now I went to Ursuline.
Yes, exactly. You're a lion. Let's hear
I'm
you
a lion.
roar.
Meow. So I've known Ash since college. We both, college was a minute ago.
Yeah, I know that they're only 30, right? So it's only been, a little longer than, we're a little older than 30.
We're a little north of 30. So it's we've known each other kind of half of our life.
Right. Yeah.
And we've been able to see each other go through so many things, ups, downs, all arounds. Mm-hmm. I live for your brownies and your company and your positive outlook. My daughter has taken dance class at your studio. I mean, I don't know. It's been really cool to watch your life unfold, to see your beautiful marriage, to see your amazing kids, and now to see you be the author of a freaking book. You are a queen. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to open up the book because I want to read your bio because I'm obsessed with it. I need to do a better job on my bio writing because the women that I interview, when they send me their bios, I'm like, damn, that's good. Okay, where is About Ash?
In the back.
In the back. Here we go. Thanks everyone for holding in while we do this. I should have posted noted. You guys, this book, while I'm looking for it, here it is about the author. Okay, this book, what I love about this book is that it is very much so. If you can see on camera, it is like beautifully illustrated, feels like it's written for kids, but it is much written for parents, for siblings, for friends. There's so much information in
Aunts,
here.
uncles, cousins, grandparents.
I love that.
Sure.
And it's just so digestible, so insightful, so normalizing. I like this book in the few pages that it is. Actually, it's like pretty long, which I also love. That like there's so much goodness and so much information in such a digestible way. So like not only did you write a book, but you wrote a beautifully smart book. And I'm so impressed.
Thank you.
Let's get into about the author. Ashley was born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. She has a Bachelor of Arts in Communication from the University of Cincinnati. What? She's been working with children and teaching dance for over 20 years and is the owner of Dance Concept Studio. She also dreamed of getting married and being a mom who added a little extra sparkle to every day. I can confirm that she does that. You have sparkles in your hair. She was waiting on God's beautiful plan for her. And after 7 years of international cross-cultural mission work, she met and married her wonderful husband, Bowie, in 2015. 3 darling children followed quickly, Blessing, Bowie, and Kingdom. She felt her dreams had come true, just like in the fairy tales. I literally have goosebumps. Look at my goosebumps. Learning that her son was autistic turned her world upside down. Each evaluation and appointment would send her into a tailspin. With lots of tears, prayer, learning, support, and a beautiful community, she grew stronger. She was a warrior, and her life's purpose became clear. Her inspiration was to advocate for autism by sharing how wonderfully unique her son is. She values her faith, being a protector, using creativity, and celebrating life's moments, big and small. And for someone who knows you so well, it's just so true. You absolutely, as a friend, like you are so grounded in your faith. You are such a protector of those that you love. You are beyond creative and sparkly. And literally every single second, I'm like, did she just throw another party? Did she just decorate again? Like you celebrate
another theme,
and but like, that is just you. You just bleed celebration. And you're like, you know what we should do? We should decorate. We should celebrate.
Sure.
And I think that's just beautifully you. And I love that about you.
Oh, thank you.
So that is about Ash. Okay, let's dive into the story a little bit. Can you tell us, before we start any discussion on autism, I want to celebrate Bear. Yes. Tell me what makes Bear so awesome.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Bear gives the best high fives and hugs. He's making us laugh all the time.
I love that.
He loves a good dance party. Like, let's dance. Let's do it.
Gee, where do you think he gets that from?
I don't know. And Bear knows what he wants. And I really like that about him.
Yeah.
And, if he likes it, he likes it. If he doesn't like it, he'll say, no, thank you. No, thank you.
Isn't that a beautiful lesson for adults and us women people pleasers who's like, oh, I forgot we can say, no, I don't like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He loves to be silly. So I always give a shout out to my brother, Michael. Like every autistic kid, obviously the spectrum is so wide. And for Bear, he loves to be silly and like, for Michael to throw him over his shoulder. So I always feel like my brother does such a great job of like being silly with him and kind of following his cues. But if there's a day where Bear's, not feeling it, then Michael, it's pretty easy to pick up that like, oh, he's not feeling it today.
And I love that about your brother that like, and I think one of the things too, that we want to accomplish today is sort of the demystify autism. What does that mean? Sure. Like, anything that feels like a unique challenge is probably the wrong word. And correct me if I ever use the wrong word, because I want to be as sensitive as possible. And this all is bled from love, but tell me if I get anything wrong so we can all learn from it. But like that Michael is brave enough to jump in and be like, I know this kid is beautifully, uniquely different, but I'm all in. And like, I'm going to meet him where he is and I'm going to wrestle with him and toss him and love him. And then when he's not feeling it, I'm going to pull back. And like, I think that takes a level of bravery because like, he's like your precious child and no one wants to like mess him up. And I just think that's awesome about your brother that he's like, I'm in.
Yeah, for sure. Like even in the back of the book, some of the communication tips and tricks I talk about where, like you need to maybe be vulnerable that you might get an awkward response.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Which, I mean, and again, all kids can do awkward responses. Like I have a lot of freckles. So when I teach dance, girls are like, what are those spots on your So it's kind of like taking that to another level too.
Gotcha. I think, and like that is one of the, like, it sounds like he level sets real quick. And I love that about him. Yeah. And he loves a good bow tie.
Oh yeah. Loves a bow tie like Dada Bear.
I was going to say, where does he get that from? That is awesome. And he seems like when I see his smile, it just radiates.
Absolutely.
And like, even when you see it online in like a 2-dimensional form, it is a 3-dimensional energy. So yeah, truly. I mean it. You can just tell he like is so exuberant and like just has big, big, big love to give.
Yeah, he doesn't know a stranger. So I mean, just walking into church and he's like everybody, like he
He's
just
like,
wants to
I
give a hug
love
and a high
you.
five.
And
I
I
love
love,
you.
oh God, I need to hang out with him more. Okay. So for those listening, one, just as a curious cat, but two, if anyone is out there and is like wondering if their child might be autistic, can you tell us about sort of how you started to get that mom intuition, what that discovery process was like, what the formal evaluation was like? Can you just kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, for sure. So, Blessing is my oldest. So Bowie's my second child. So, a lot of times I was wondering, is this people kind of joke, oh, the second child, or
Totally.
and
Yes.
so
Yeah.
there was definitely times that I was like, is this a second child thing, or is this a boy? Like, is Blessing's a girl?
Sure.
So actually, it really first started with Bowie was a little slow to walk.
Yeah.
He was more like 17 or 18 months. So we did start doing some, we did an MRI, like just making sure kind of that everything was okay. And nothing was really showing up.
Yeah.
But then it was by his 3-year-old checkup that I had kind of a long list for our pediatrician. Some things that I was noticing is that transitions were really hard. And again, some of these things you just are like,
it's a toddler.
Right. Getting into the car seat or changing a diaper, going from a preferred activity to a non-preferred activity.
Yeah.
But it was like,
what does hard look like?
Yeah. Like, just like getting in the car seat, but I mean like the full on meltdown or, like there was some repetitive like slamming the door.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then anytime, like even if I would just set down, this would be a sensory seeking activity. Like if I would set down a bottle of Windex, like, I feel like a typical 3-year-old, you could almost just say like, of course they're curious, but you could almost say like, you do not touch that. And that's mommy's, but it was like, it couldn't be let go. It would need to either squirt the whole bottle or dump the whole bottle out.
Almost in like, and tell me if I'm wrong, in like a compulsive or obsessive kind of way?
Kind of. Yeah.
Okay.
And so in the book, that's really where it started, that he would just throw rocks into this pond, and we have this tiny little pond. And and it's just like, it was really just a sensory thing, but I would get so annoyed. Like,
you're
stop.
Like,
And so I just felt like I tried everything, like timeouts, like,
redirect,
a million different things. And I would just get so frustrated.
Sure. Thank you for saying that, by the way. Like we all have every right to get frustrated. You love your children, but yes, we all get frustrated.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just feel like that's so important. No one's perfect.
I know. Yeah. So there was just a lot of things that like he couldn't walk past a puddle or dirt and just like make the biggest mess. So I had this long list for our pediatrician who we love so much. Yeah. And so we went in, and at first I actually had said, I thought this was really cute because I'm like, oh, he's our little parrot. He repeats everything I say. Oh. Which now I've learned it's a term in autism called echolalia.
Oh.
Yeah. So I would say like, Bear, what's your favorite color? And he would say color. He wouldn't actually answer the question. He would repeat it.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
And so again, at first I thought it was cute.
Totally.
And then, but when I'm telling the pediatrician, when she's kind of piecing these things together of what I'm telling her and the repeating of sentences, and then actually she was doing the checkup and I was like, oh, he's nailing it. He's being so cute. But then she went into a transition where she had to like, check his diaper and he just full on melted down for her. Yeah. And so that's actually the first time that she brought up the term Asperger's, which is now no longer actually a medical term because so Asperger's is almost like a mild form of autism. Okay. If people have heard of it.
Oh, yes, I have.
So now they've actually kind of just removed the Asperger's term, and they just bunch it all into the autism umbrella.
Okay. I've heard a similar thing with ADHD and ADD. ADD is no longer a thing. Everyone is ADHD, but it's on a scale. Okay. So Asperger's, it's just, they're like making a more broad spectrum scale to maybe like normalize factors or something. Right. Okay.
But the first time I heard it, it was like absolutely knocked me out. Yeah. Took the wind. I mean, I knew that there were some challenges, but I just couldn't. I mean, I just went to the worst. And then I think a lot of us have seen the movie Rain Man with an autistic. And so then I was just like, my son is not autistic. Right. Like, this is absolutely absurd, and I feel like I can say that now. And like, just to be honest, like,
I really appreciate this.
Yeah. And I feel bad in a sense. And to be honest, my husband and I, it was so hard for us to digest that we called it the A word. We couldn't even say the word autism because we were so petrified.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I
I
love
feel
you for
like
admitting
too,
that.
that there
Yeah.
is just, like a negative connotation around autism. So that is really, really, really my goal
Yeah.
in trying to help people that were, like that could be going through a similar story to understand, again, like we're saying, autism's beauty.
Yeah. Gosh. And it's like, sometimes like this is just a silly example, but like when your kid is sick, you're like, please be strep because I can give it medicine. I can
Mm-hmm.
give this kid medicine and they're going to
Mm-hmm.
feel better. The flu, we got to ride out like a virus. Like
Yeah.
autism, because it's behavioral based, it's not a
Mm-hmm.
broken bone. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like they have low blood pressure and I can give them medicine. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
this is multifaceted.
Mm-hmm.
This is forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, because it is such a broad spectrum, I can imagine figuring out where you fall and then what does that even mean and what does that mean for the rest of your family. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine that feels like a lot
For sure.
to digest.
And actually, the very first thing you do before you start any of your evaluations is a hearing test.
Oh.
And I'm like,
Oh my
please,
gosh, what if your child is
please,
yeah,
please. Like maybe he's having all these challenges because he can't hear, but so
past it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then you kind of, it was like the repeating back, the lack of transitions, the sort of repetitive, like sort of compulsive
Mm-hmm.
behavior.
Rigidity is another word we use.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I totally can see how that translates. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then you started the pediatrician with your list. And then what? What's next?
Yeah. So then our next step, we went to Cincinnati Children's, and this is people. There's private people that can also do evaluations.
Uh-huh.
So through Cincinnati Children's, we started off with a speech evaluation, a psychology evaluation, or I told you we did the auditory test.
Yes.
And so then when they're kind of piecing all these tests and these results together, the first thing that they came back to us with our developmental pediatrician. I mean, so that was a lot of visits. It's all
Yeah.
during COVID.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like how many visits is this? Because
This was definitely at least 3 pretty big appointments.
yeah, like an all day or
All day.
yeah.
And well, not all day, but
Right.
several hours with
Right.
a kid and so then you're filling out a million questionnaires and it's like, they're hard to answer. They're like, does he do it this much, or this much? And it's like,
Depends on the day.
Yeah. And then for him, they're doing the stacking the blocks and all the different things. And luckily, we're giving him snacks and he's
right.
So then the first thing that actually Children's came back with is they told us that we're going to diagnose him with what we're going to call a communication disorder.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'll take it.
Right.
Like,
I'll take it.
Great. So then I felt like then I could like go into a swim lesson and be like, he has a communication disorder. Like that's his challenge. Like that's our challenge.
Yeah.
And I was just still at this point, like really praying hard that it wasn't autism.
Yeah.
So then our next step for the next year was basically to dive into a lot of therapies.
Yeah.
And so we did speech therapy, occupational therapy with our preschool. We're in Lakota schools. We got on an IEP.
Yes. Love an IEP.
Yes. And all of these were amazing.
Yeah.
But I will also share with moms, you don't have to do therapy 7 days a week. Like
that's awesome.
Early intervention is very important. And I think it was so helpful for us. But again, it's not every day that you have to find you don't have to go to horse therapy. I mean, well, amazing, but you don't have to do every single therapy in the world. So
right. Just there. Yeah. Right. Take a breath, figure out what works for you and your family. Yeah. I love that. And was the IEP process a little easier because you had the diagnosis from Children's that you could take it to school and start the paperwork?
Actually, it was a little tricky because then we had to do a whole nother evaluation through Lakota.
Yeah.
And so, but it was okay. It's like looking back.
Yeah. So like, okay, if you think, just be prepared to fill the forms and do the test. Because this is like, but that's hard because you just like, you want this uncomfortable part, I'm sure, to be over and to just know what you're working with and to move to the next step. But this part seems to go slow.
This part was really hard. So this is about a year and a half long. And then it was poor preschool teacher. I love her. Miss Lindy, shout out. Miss Debbie. Amazing.
Hey, Miss Lindy. Hey, Miss Debbie. Thank you for all you do.
Our first couple conferences, I'd be like, this is again where I just was really like, please don't be autistic. And I'd be like, Miss Lindy.
Yeah. Hey girl.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Oh, she was amazing. And she just said how much she loved Bear.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so then as we're kind of starting to turn a corner.
Yeah.
We are seeing progress. Like in our home now, we're starting to use visual timers, visual schedules.
Yeah.
We're trying to understand what even being regulated means, which is still a challenge. Like getting an autistic child regulated can it can be a lot of
Yeah.
different trials.
So how did you go from a communication disorder to then a formal diagnosis of autism?
Yeah. So then we had, I think, a 6-month checkup, and we were still, tracking our progress with our
because we were doing
children's.
therapies.
Yeah,
right?
doing therapies.
Yeah.
Everyone's still kind of tracking this. And then the next step was when he's a couple months after he's 4, we're going to reevaluate him for
Okay.
autism.
Mhm.
And so going then into this evaluation when he turned 4, we were now coming to terms with, we in our hearts
Yeah.
really think he's autistic. And then there's what's called sensory processing disorder, which you can have sensory processing disorder without being autistic.
Okay.
But most autistic children do have sensory processing disorder.
Okay. Like what is this might be too, what is the difference between a communication, a sensory processing, and autistic? But I feel like they probably overlap a lot too.
They do kind of all overlap. Yeah. And
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then at one point I was like, when I had read like, you can have sensory processing disorder without being autistic, I'm like,
yeah,
please,
yeah,
maybe just that,
please. Yeah.
So, but then when we were really coming to terms with, then we're noticing, but then it just becomes so cute, like his bedtime routine. It's just like, I mean, this Whoopi needs to be here, Penguin needs to be here, and again, all kids do some, but some of this became very
right. You're like, no, trust me, it's different. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So then we went into this last evaluation, and again, we had to do the speech therapist. And it's like, you get that result and you read it, and there's just some terms in there, and it's like, his effect is flat. And I read that, and I'm like,
you're like, don't you
does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I hated that. And but it's like a term, and I understand that that's they all mean,
but like maybe that's our next challenge, is go work on the terms.
And then our second visit was going to be with a psychologist. And then we weren't going to technically find out like until our third visit if he was officially going to get his autism diagnosis, and or if they were going to make us kind of wait another year.
Yeah.
But the second visit, the psychologist, she was so sweet, and she got tears in her eyes.
Aww.
And she goes, I don't want to make you wait.
Love her for that.
I know. And she said, I am going to diagnose him as being autistic.
Oh, I have goosebumps.
And of course, there were tears, and there was a lot of big hugs.
Yes, sure.
But it was a little bit of a deep breath. And at that point, I think we had come to terms with it.
Yeah.
And so then after any of our evaluations, even if it's with the school, I go home and I am complete mush.
Yeah.
And like, my mom wants the update, and I'm just like, I'm just such mush.
Yes.
And it usually would last for about 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
But then the mama superpower, it just like kind of kicks in, and it's like, pull up the bootstraps and where do we go? What do we do? And like, what can I schedule? And I just then feel like, then you just,
God, I have goosebumps again. Ash, you're killing me here. Like, I think it's such a good, valuable, like moms out there, whether you are receiving a diagnosis, when you are aware that you're doing something hard, now you know to protect that 24 to 48 hours with no judgment, with rest, with care. And then you're ready, and you have faith in yourself. And of course your faith that you're like, bootstraps are coming back on, but I'm going to just chill for like the 24 hours and let myself feel this, let myself work through it. And like, a lot of people don't do that. And I'm sure that is what keeps your shine and sparkle, because you let yourself feel all the things. Is there like a certain age, will they not diagnose autism before like 3 or 4? Like, or is
they will. I think that depending on there's technically different levels, and there's a level 1, which is the lower level. So I feel like I've heard people being diagnosed as early as, young, 18 months. Because then, within the autism spectrum, there's nonverbal, and there's a lot of stimming and a lot of different. So I feel like when those present themselves earlier, maybe.
It's more directional. Okay. That makes total sense.
Bear's so social too. So that was, even for a while, I'm like,
are there certain pillars? So, that are like, they kind of evaluate autism against, is it like social skills, communication skills, processing skills? Like, are there buckets when parents are sitting with their kids now and are sort of feeling a little anxious? Like, are there certain like things that they're looking for, or is it just things that feel almost like a little abnormal or extra,
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I know Bear fell into like a little bit the social, like even though he is social, he
Yeah.
has social challenges, I would say.
Okay.
And then his was the repetitive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then his other one was the sensory. So he
Yeah.
kind of fell into those three for
Those
sure.
three. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I think like sometimes because it is such a broad spectrum and because like you said, these kids are so young
Mhm.
and every kid is so different
Mhm.
and toddlers are just cray to
Mhm.
begin
Yeah,
with.
right.
Good thing they so cute.
Right.
It's got to feel like you could talk yourself into it and out of it
For
minute
sure.
to minute.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that you were so open about how you felt during it because you are equal parts mama bear and equal parts like this isn't what you wanted for your son. And
Mhm.
okay, so how do you, when people are in the throes of that,
Mhm.
actually, before I ask that question, let's just then fast forward. So we've got Bear's diagnosis.
Mhm.
What kind of things, let's walk through some of the things in the book. Like what does day to day look like for Bear? What does supportive care look like for Bear? What does life look like for you and your family with this cutie patootie?
Oh yeah, he's so cute. Okay, so yes, his siblings are amazing, and his siblings trigger him a lot, just like again any siblings.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, for a long time, the visual schedule was very helpful for Bear. So he could
Yeah.
see because a lot of autistic kids have it's like almost underlying anxiety.
Yeah.
Like you don't so much know that it's anxiety as much as it'll show up in his bathroom habits.
Oh, yeah.
And just things like that.
Yeah.
So a typical day for Bear is that yes, he'll like to know what's coming for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes.
And he likes to, I mean, there's definitely the routine in what he eats. I mean,
Yeah.
he eats for breakfast, it's a bowl of dry cereal with a cup of milk. Like they
Sure.
don't
Do you, Bear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, Bear?
Yeah.
And then, but that can also really play well because now that he's so like, when you teach him one time for the hamper, like this goes here and this goes here,
Yeah.
he is on it. Like
I
there's
love
no
that.
messing that up. Yeah.
I love that.
His room is actually the cleanest of all the kids.
Bear,
Yeah.
can you come over?
So, and then we will try to prepare for, so like during the week, if we're like, we have a birthday party on Saturday, we'll just kind of try to prepare, or if the birthday party's at a new place,
Yeah.
I always just try to show him like a picture of kind of like what to expect. So he's not going to be so overwhelmed
and surprised.
Again, it's so helpful for any child. Like,
yes.
So now I do it for Blessing and Keenan, like anywhere we're going, like if we're going to start a gymnastics class or just kind of try to walk them through it, talk them through it.
Yeah.
Is really helpful.
Here's what to expect.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Does he eat the same thing for lunch and for dinner too?
Yes.
And like as a parent, and like your husband is in the food industry, when like food is totally your family's thing, you bake, like it's everything. Was that like, and we're all like, our kids must eat healthy. And like, was that hard to let go of? Or are you just like,
oh, kind of went out the window.
Yeah. And I love that. Bye.
I really, so I remember one of the biggest things, it was one of our first Halloweens. And I was reading, because then I just dove into all the mom like pages on autism and like just tried to, and just saying like he was having a lot of sensory challenges at that time. And so, only certain comfortable clothes and, no tags and all this kind of stuff. So I was reading that like you might need to accept that he's not going to wear his Blippi costume for Halloween, even though he loves Blippi, but it just might be too much.
And on that day.
Yes. And I was really preparing myself, like maybe we can just wear Halloween jammies and it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
And as much as I love a good picture of them all in their costumes, I'm like,
know.
So, but I feel like that was when I was really coming to terms with like, if we're going to try to sit and eat a family dinner at the table, that for him can be a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
So then we would just make adjustments, and like he's actually allowed to have his Kindle at the table.
Yeah,
that
sure.
Makes it more comfortable. And or if he wants to go sit at his, like he has this little table in the kitchen that he does all of his sand and stuff. And I just kind of like let myself be okay with it.
Yeah, I love that. Let Bear be Bear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with the food, it's like I kind of gave up. I always try to offer him something, but I pretty much know like and I know if I give him a cupcake, he'll just eat the icing again.
Right. A lot of people do it, but like still, but I think like that's the beautiful permission that there are moms out. You just gave moms so much permission to just like pick what you want to concede on.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like maybe that's one of the blessings of autism is that like we all get to learn to concede a little bit and be like, yes, just like if this is what you need to feel in control and to feel comfortable and to feel more you, let's do it. Like, and I think I don't know. I think that's awesome. Some things you just have to let go of, and that's totally okay.
Right. Yeah. He eats a cheese sandwich dipped in ketchup every day for lunch.
I love that.
And then someone, I guess one of our friends said that their kid's like, well, Barry eats the same thing for lunch every day. Like,
that's amazing.
So there were a lot of other challenges that I'm like, you know what? If he eats a cheese sandwich dipped in,
who cares?
We'll sneak in a smoothie every once in a while.
Right. And then it's like, obviously he's healthy, he's happy, he's loved. Like, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like, do you feel like sometimes this comes with, I feel like, life's pivots, and, when Adeline was sick and then she came home, I'm like, there isn't much that matters that really truly matters.
Right.
Like, all that matters is that they are healthy and happy and loved and safe.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Literally it.
Like, if he's having a little trouble, I remember this was a preschool thing. They're like, he's having trouble cutting using a scissors. I'm
Same,
like,
Bear.
I don't care. I don't care.
Right. Don't care. Literally don't care.
care.
Literally don't care. I know this is horrible, but like those MAP scores that come back from public school testing, half the time I don't even open them.
Right.
I'm like, don't care.
Yeah.
I know my kid is smart. I know my kid is doing well. I know my kid is a good human.
Right.
And MAP tests are really hard. And like, yes, of course I like to see progression, but half the time I'm like, I don't care.
Right.
Because it's not a real reflection of like their actual intelligence, whatever. But there are so many moments, and maybe it's just after having 3 kids, having 4 kids, that you're like, oh, I actually don't care about that. I don't care about the scissors.
Sucker fell on the floor. I don't care.
Right. I'm just going to give it a quick rinse and we're all back in the game. And you're like, is this scissors going to be the gateway to a success in life? I don't think so. I don't care, but thank you for the update. Yeah. Oh my God. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Okay. And what so I know that siblings love him and care for him, but also can trigger him. What is life like as a sibling of Bear?
Oh, that's a good one. It definitely is teaching, I think, a lot of empathy.
Yeah.
Blessing in her classroom, I know, is like so sweet with some of the kids in her class. And I don't know. I think it's learning that life isn't always fair, which I very much so teach Blessing. She's like, why does he get 2 of that? But then we took just Blessing to Disney because we're like, you are just such an angel, and we really want you to enjoy this. And Disney would have been overwhelming for Bear anyway. But so I think it's teaching them a couple different things. Yeah,
I love that. And I think empathy is like, I think your kids are empathetic to begin with, because I know you and Bowie are very empathetic, but like, it's true. And like, I feel like often the kids who have siblings who are special needs are just like such game changers in the world, because they've seen the world through not just like rose colored glasses, but in like a beautiful, real way. And they see the beauty in what other types of life is like. Like, I'm sure they value Bear's experiences as much as they do. And like, yes, like every sibling, I mean, nothing is fair in any house. Oh my God, if I hear that's not fair one more time, I'm like, but I think that that's like I know, I can imagine that maybe sometimes it feels like a hard lesson, but it is a really important, like you said, beautiful lesson. And Bear just gets to be the teacher.
Yeah. And a lot of times they say, if you don't know how to maybe interact with a child with special needs, watch how the sibling interacts with them. And it's just a really good model for how to, she treats him normal.
Yeah. Right. Right. Just like your brother. He's like, who wants to wrestle?
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, as a parent, that is a lot to digest, a lot of appointments to manage. You've got other kids to take care of. Like, it is a full plate, a full emotional plate. How do friends support you? And like, if we experience someone who's going through something like this in their life, how do friends show up? How do friends support people?
Yeah. I think the first and best piece of advice that I can give is to say, when I tell you something is hard, just believe me.
Yeah.
So if I'm like, potty training an autistic kid can be delayed. Sometimes it never happens. So if I want to share that, like, we're having some major poop situations, like,
oh God, that sounds hard.
It is. I don't want to hear like your tips. Like, honestly, like, I just want you to believe me that I've tried everything and it's really hard.
Yeah.
Or if it's just, we're on Thanksgiving break and I'm just like, we're having a really bad week. Bear's not in his routine and we're just having a hard week. And I just really just mostly need you to believe me.
Yeah. And just listen.
Right. Yeah.
Gosh, that's such great advice.
Yeah.
And I love that, like, there's some people are just like, just listen, but like, that's a whole nother level. Like, just believe me, hear me, like, believe me. I love that. That's different than what I've heard before. And that's so valuable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then this one is another one too, that, and not that a friend would ever do this, but I feel like when you have a child with special needs, it's things like play dates would just look differently.
Yeah.
Like, if it's like, hey, let's pick up and let's go here. It's like, that's just a little more challenging for our family.
Yep.
Like I said, we don't know what the gym looks like, or we
Yep.
don't know what this park looks like. Like,
Mhm.
could he, there's in autism, it's called elopement, where they can just run.
Oh yeah.
And so, so you'll also need to consider that, like, some of that can be challenging,
Yes.
or, a lot of times a mom with a child of special needs too, like we said, is going to a lot of appointments,
Yes.
and sometimes our hearts can almost, of course, like feel a little sad if our other friend is sharing about, oh, her soccer game and her this, and there's a lot of things that, like, a lot of special needs parents are going to doctor's appointments and
Yes.
therapies,
Yeah.
and they're hearing from their friends, oh, well, this gymnastics, a bunch of the different events, the guitar lessons, all this, and sometimes we can feel a little bit like, oh, that's a bummer.
I get that, where you're like, I wouldn't give to just be so busy with
Yeah.
gymnastics and soccer
Yeah.
and guitar lessons.
Right.
Yeah.
And even vacations is kind of another thing for us. Like, car rides are really challenging for Bear, hotels, like any big change like that. So again, I'm not telling anyone not like to share their vacation with us, but just like,
Right. Just be sensitive
just
to it.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
But I also can imagine that you want Bear to be included on the play dates and all that stuff.
For
So
sure.
it's like, make the effort, but like, just understand that they might need to meet you where you are and where's comfortable for your family.
Right.
But like, what a great lesson for their kids to learn, to be like, hey, like, we want to include everybody, and this is what works for their family. And this is important to do.
Right.
Bada bing, done.
Yeah.
Let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. And I think, it's like everyone's got their stuff, right?
Sure.
Everything is hard for everybody and everything is beautiful, but just to like not try and fix it for people, and just to listen and to understand, which is hard for people because no one wants to see anyone in discomfort.
Right.
Do you feel like people are afraid to talk to you about it, or like probably before you wrote the book, because obviously you're such an open book, pun intended. But like, I feel like, so for example, my friend who lost her husband, some people don't want to talk about him because they don't want to bring up things that might feel sad or uncomfortable, but she's like, no, please talk about him. Like, do you find that people are hesitant to ask about Bear, or like, because they just don't want to shed light on a challenge that you have for your family? Or do you think that people are just like more open about that? And
yeah, I think that's a good question. I feel like I don't know if I have the best answer for that, other than saying, like, I'm really new at this too. So
I love
like,
that. That's the perfect answer.
I'm not an expert in autism.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm an expert in my son.
Yeah. Hell yeah, you are.
Yeah. And so I feel like I love when people ask me questions about him. And sometimes I feel like even if I don't have the best answer, that we can maybe figure it out together. Yeah. Like, we were on a play date at this place we love. It's called Dig and Play. It's a sand place in Westchester. Inflatables. Love it. And there was just kind of an incidents going back and forth with, like, it wasn't like spitting, but it was like, and then the kids were getting really irritated. And I think Bear was amping it up and making some other kids uncomfortable. Oh, so, like, this is a perfect example. And just, I love the way the mom handled it with me. And I was able to share with her, like, this is making Bears uncomfortable right now. And like, how can we kind of work with this together? So we just then, our best solution at that time was to say to the friend, like, hey, let's come to Ash. If you need help with Bear, like, let's just come to Ash and we'll work through it together.
I love that. I think that's perfect, because my sister-in-law is the same way with her son, who has cerebral palsy. And like, sometimes just any of her kids, really, like when we're on vacation together and kids are being kids, whether Charlie's involved or not. And like, especially where we go in Florida, where there's like an older community, and the older people just want to tell our kids real quick what to do. And my sister is like a lion, and she's like, you don't talk to them, you talk to me.
Yeah. Mama Bear.
Yeah, she's from Jersey. So I'm like, oh yeah, what she said. I'm just back here hiding. I'm like, I'm just kidding. Like, you can actually, like, I don't know. Katie and I do a lot of things differently. And like, I'm obsessed with watching how she does it. Like, we both just live and learn from each other, but I'm always like, oh, what's she going to do? But I love that. It's like, let me advocate for my kid. And like, and that also opens up such a great channel between your friends' kids and you to be like, yeah, I'm the expert in Bear. Let me help you understand. Yeah. It's so awesome. And I love that mom feels comfortable enough to be like, okay, I get where Bear is, but it's also having impact on my son. Yeah. How do we work together?
Right. Yeah.
I love that. Cause I mean, how many times have my kids crossed the line and you're like, oh, yep, got it. My bad. Let me go. Let me recalibrate for sure. I love that. I know your faith is very important to you. Tell me about how faith has played a role in this for you?
Oh boy.
You're like chapter 1. Prologue.
Yeah. So my faith has been an ongoing thing. And I really feel for me, some of the challenges I've been through in my life and
Sure.
grief and loss and different
Yeah.
things that I've been through, that
Yeah.
God is my constant.
Yeah.
And I just want to trust him.
Yeah.
And I feel like throughout this process, I can definitely look at this, and in the beginning that I would say to God, and believe me, like I can say to God, what the F?
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
And like, I don't understand this. And, but I trust his plan for our family is so much more beautiful than I could have ever thought.
Yes.
Even just with my marriage and meeting Bowie, like that was a true testament of like, I'm like, God, where is my husband?
Where's my husband?
And that, you know, we waited a little longer to have kids and get married and find each other, but that what God produced, like the fruit that then comes from trusting him and leaving it up to his will, and that it just is, it's a process. That's definitely like my faith, and it still goes up and down. And
I'm sure I get that.
Yeah.
Trusting and surrendering is really hard.
Yes.
Sometimes you have to surrender over and over and over and over again. You're like, I give up. Nope, I don't. I'm so mad. Yeah.
Right. For sure.
Yeah.
And then just with that, the community that comes through, we go to Crossroads Church that we love so much. I have a Bible study with Betsy. And,
Hi, Bets.
Hey, Bets. Just the community, the vulnerability, not feeling so alone, whether it's with that community or feeling that I can turn to God. And even driving over here, I'm like, I'm nervous, but I'm listening to worship music and I'm like, God, let me just speak, you know, through, let your words come through me, and let me, you know, I'm trying to be an advocate and help moms in whatever way I can.
I love that. And I feel like you do such a great job of sitting in your faith and letting that be your rock. And you're so open and sharing about your faith. And I just think that that's beautiful, because like, I know that that's, you know, I don't go to a formal church, but I'm very spiritual, and like, I really value what that means to you. And I know that that's so important to you. And I think that that's, you know, you have to, when you're going through challenges in life, you have to lean into what are your pillars that hold you up. How else did you and Bowie navigate this together? How did you take care of each other? How did you take care of yourself? Like, I love this notion of like, if I'm going through a day of evaluation, I'm going to just let myself be mushy for 24 hours. Like, tell me more. Like, do you have any other, for moms out there who are in the thick of it?
Yeah.
How do we take care of ourselves?
Yeah. So, well, with Bowie and I feel like we are two very different people. You know, we're very similar, but very different. So for sure, understanding that we both needed to process it a little bit differently.
Yeah. Was that bumpy to figure that out?
That was, but ultimately I feel like we both put in our strengths of it, that I am very vulnerable and want to share, and he's more private and wants to process it a little bit more.
Sure.
But ultimately I'm thankful that I held back a little bit, and that we did take a little bit of quiet time to process it together
as a family.
Because if not, I just would have been a walking, crying mess the whole time.
Yes.
So, so we've definitely, like, that's a challenge, but we're a team, and we just,
that's what I take away from that is that you guys were like, first and foremost, we are a team.
Yeah.
Let's regroup as a team. Let's get through this as a team. And then let's figure out what our next step is from there. But we need to establish the base of our team, need to care for our son. And then let's figure out what the next step forward is. I love that. That's beautiful.
And trust his feelings. If he says, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling overwhelmed, you know, whatever each one of us is feeling at that time, I'm feeling depressed. Like, we just need to really trust that that's what they're feeling and let them feel that.
Yes. And like, that is such a testament to your marriage, because I'm sure every feeling has to be a big feeling.
Yeah.
And when you're having your own big feelings, to be able to hold space for someone else's big feelings, that's hard. And I think that kudos to you guys. That really speaks to the strength of your marriage, because I think that's really hard. You're like, wait, no, my feelings are real big right now. My turn. Like, I called it. This is my turn. It's like, no, like, this marriage has to hold space for both of you. And like, you know, I think the way you put it is beautifully, is like, as energetic and outgoing and as pouring of love as the two of you are, you process in really different ways.
Yeah.
And to hold space for that is awesome. Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of how you supported each other. How else did you take care of yourself? Because you also have 3 little kids, or did you ever like not take care of yourself enough and wish you had done things a little bit differently? Because I can think of many moments in
Yeah,
my life
yeah,
where
yeah.
I did that.
Yeah. I feel like I've done, yeah. So I think finding your people is helpful.
Yeah.
So one of those people is we got a babysitter, Morgan.
Heck yeah.
That has
Morgan, we love you.
She has become, I mean, much, much more than a babysitter. I mean,
Yes.
she loves
Yeah.
my kids, and
I just got goosebumps again. Yeah. There's the special ones out there.
It's
Yeah.
so special. So she is like a really big one. Then even finding places, there's a place called We Rock the Spectrum, a gym that we can go with Bear.
Yeah.
Connecting with them can help me feel, I can drop him off for a camp there.
Yes.
I can try to not feel guilty. Like he's going to go there every Friday in the summer. And
Yes,
then I can take Blessing and Kingdom to like a museum or do something that would just be a challenge for Bear.
Yes.
And not feel guilty about it.
Yes. And let Bear, like, that's so great because Bear is doing something that doesn't feel challenging.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I bet that feels great for Bear.
It does. And
I don't know, maybe I'm saying this wrong.
No, it's great. And like there was a certain birthday party we were going to go to at a Korean restaurant. And I'm like, oh, this is just going to be really hard. So we dropped Bear off at Glammy's.
Yes.
And it was beautiful. And he had fun and we had fun. And so not feeling guilty about that.
Yeah.
But other things, I mean, I don't know. I go for walks. I love a massage.
Yes, queen.
I mean,
schedule the massage.
I know.
Girls, schedule the massage.
Even going to the Dollar Tree.
Yes. Oh my God. I really love Dollar Tree
so much. Why did I spend $125?
That means you got 125 items. But you're like, but the crafts and the themes. I know.
The themes. Yeah.
See,
St. Patrick's Day coming. I'm like,
yes, let's do it. My friend Emily and I say all the time, I'm like, if my life is an actual thunderstorm shit show, all I need is a fresh notebook and some new pens or maybe a new set of markers. And I was like, actually, life is great. I'm fine. Everything's
fine.
Yeah. Right.
Redo my nails and
yes. Oh my God, I need to go get mine done. But yes, like, so, okay. So it's literally like the little things.
Yeah.
It's to be able to get the support systems in place. So you've got Glammy, you've got Morgan, you've got the gym so that you can, if you feel the need to lean into your other two a little bit more, you can, or if you feel the need to go get a massage and go get your nails done, go do it.
Yeah.
And to give yourself grace and to share your big feelings with your husband. And it did sound like maybe you did a little Googling to find some support groups and some things online. Are there resources that you found that have been really helpful?
There's a mom online. She wrote a book. It's called Forever Boy. And she just has a big autism following. And she's just so real. And she gets on these lives and she'll just be like curling her hair while she's talking about her day. And it's like, oh, yes, I totally relate to that. I love that so much.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. Because it's like we all are just, that is like really, truly one of the big takeaways that I have learned in my life, that by having these kinds of conversations that are just real amongst us girls, it normalizes something that feels so abnormal. And that takes away all of its power in a sense. Like you can talk about anything to be like, and someone's like, oh my God, that's me too. And all of a sudden it doesn't hold a power over them anymore. And they can just be them. So this woman, as she's curling her hair and is like, this is my day. We have the sand table in the kitchen and he doesn't come to every birthday party. You're like, I have permission now to do that as well. I don't feel so bad about it. I can let that go. And then it can just be love from your heart. Okay. So I think this has all been so great. Are there, okay, and we've talked about kids and how they can be a supportive friend. How in the classroom, with Bowie in the classroom, Bear in the classroom, how do kids interact? How can it be supportive? How can they give space? Like what, is there anything that kids can do that besides just love them?
Yeah, they, so he's in a kindergarten general education classroom and they just think he's, I mean, totally typical. They don't even know, but they have read the book in the class and they were so sweet.
I'm going to cry.
They
I don't know why, but here it comes.
Thank you for sharing, Bowie. And then like, I don't know. I think they just know him as the kid that loves to dance.
Yes.
And, and so they're so sweet. And so I try to volunteer in the classroom as much as possible.
Sure. Yeah. I get that. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, and just like this sweet girl, Lou Jane, and like that she loves Bear, and like it's Cammie. I coach cheerleading too, so it's like,
of course you do,
Cammie, like, and then they love Bear, and then with the book too. So then we're gonna do a reading at the school, but also maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but this is exciting.
Yeah, tell me. Ready? Are we doing breaking news?
Breaking news!
Breaking news!
We are making up a interactive dance.
Of course you are.
Called the Bu Bear Bounce.
Oh my God.
So when I go and do readings at schools,
Yes.
Instead of just reading and talking about the book, we're going to stand up and we're going to shake our booties.
Oh my God. That is so freaking fun.
It's going to be so fun.
And that, like, you know, I can imagine sitting there and reading this book and, like, you know, I've read to the classroom a million times. Everyone's like into it. And then they're like, I want to tell you something. And they're interrupting. And then someone glazes over. You're like, now it's time to shake your booty. And we're reinvested in this beautiful story that's so important.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. I can't wait to learn how to shake my booty with you.
Yeah. So we're working on producing that now.
Oh my God. That's really fun.
Yeah.
And so on brand, Ash. Yeah. That a girl. Okay. So let's take a step back and talk about what made you actually called to write the book.
Okay. Yes. So if we were at a birthday party and there were just certain challenges that Bowie would have, like he couldn't wait in line for Pin the Tail on the Donkey. Sometimes even the noise and the energy around singing happy birthday with a candle lit. It's like, you really just, I mean, someone explained to me about autism that I really liked is, imagine like you're going to New York City for your first time.
Yeah.
This might be a hard analogy for a child, but you could just give them some scenarios.
Yeah.
You are overwhelmed by the noises, the smells, the sounds. You just kind of feel like, So that's in like a lot of times I feel like how Bowie can feel.
That's like his baseline kind of
like what it feels like.
Yeah.
So, so if he's at a birthday party and he's not able to do, you know, waiting his turn and like certain things that I didn't want him to be misunderstood. I didn't want him to be thought of a bad kid.
Right. Or impatient or
Right. And honestly too, I didn't want people to think I'm a bad mom.
Oh, totally. Yes. Right? I get that. You're like, no, wait, I deeply care. I have to let him be him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like, what is a way that we can, you know, just let people understand that this is like who he is and these are challenges for him. He's not being a bad kid.
Right.
So at first I was just going to write just a little, I was going to like take little pictures of Bear and like make my own little story, make it at Kinko's and just pass it out to family and friends, people that we interact with at birthday parties and Christmas and whatnot. And so then I was like, oh, instead of doing our own little pictures, I went on a Facebook moms group and I started Googling like just a local illustrator.
Love that.
And so I came across, I came across a guy named Justin Dunn and everyone's like, he's amazing. He's so great to work with. So I started talking with Justin. He was so great.
Cool.
He's like, I want you to talk to my partner, Erin Galloway. She and I are starting this publishing company together to help people like, you know, live out their dreams and share their stories, write your own story, you know? And so I did a Zoom call with them and they were just so down to earth. They made me feel so heard and they loved my idea. And so then it was just like a no-brainer that I was going to work with them and turn it into a for real book.
This book. Okay. So let me just dig through some of the pages in this book because it's awesome. I love for someone who is a writer also, like this is so intentional. So you start off this book with these beautiful pictures of your family and like, yes, it's so lovely to share, but that very much normalizes like, no, this is a real family writing this book. Like this is us for real, which I absolutely loved. And so, okay, let's start with it. The first line is, hi, I'm Blessing Bear. For those who it's literally look at these illustrations.
Very whimsical and colorful and
and
positive.
It's like, there's star. It's like a bright, shiny star, which he absolutely is. Okay. Why did you want to write it from Blessing's perspective? Or what made that's just kind of like a really cool pivot. What's that for?
For sure, for it to be understandable. There are many times even in my faith where I'm like the big old Bible, I'm like, I don't understand this. Give me a children's Bible. Like, and I have no shame in like, this makes sense to me.
I love that.
And so I really thought, what is the best way that I can reach everyone?
Yes.
So I knew if it came from, at the time she was technically 6 when writing it. So if it comes from a 6-year-old's perspective, it can just reach everyone.
Yeah. It's just so like baseline, down to earth, normal. I love that. I think we start off in this book talking about, you know, it's literally like he gives the best high fives and hugs and it celebrates all the great things about him. And it just says that his brain works a little differently. So these are like such great normalizations for kids to be like, okay, if I'm sensing that Bear might do things a little differently than me, why? And then I loved, it was like you went into some of the things that you saw that just made him a little different. So it's the throwing the rocks in the pond, talking about loud noises in the cars. What I loved about the illustrations were, oh my God, your license plate says Bowtown. Yes, it does. Of course it does. This is so perfect. But that like, in one page, I'm looking at one page and you won't be able to see it. So you got to go buy the book. You guys are in the car and you see sort of like the distress on the parents, cute little bear parents' faces, because it's so honest. As a parent who might have a kid who might be autistic or has a kid, like this is like, yes, I see you. I am you too. Like this part is really hard and we are struggling here. And then there's this next beautiful scene where he seems to be like kind of closed in because the noises are too loud and he just wants to feel safe in his cute little shell. But his siblings are there wrapping their arms around him. And this is the empathy that you're talking about. And you're like, so in one spread of a page, you have the challenges and you have the beauty of it. And I'm like, damn, she's good at this. She's so good. So yeah, I love the shoes off.
I know. The shoes on the library shelf.
Yes. Oh my God, I can't.
Our illustrator is Danny Summerfield. She actually lives in the UK. I mean, she just nailed it.
Yeah.
And she has some children with special needs too. So she really understood it.
Yeah.
And like she did so great.
I just absolutely love this. And then we even get into a little bit about the doctor's appointments. And so not only is it like, I mean, really, truly, it's like kind of chronological. It's very level setting for kids to be like, okay. And then also like, what a beautiful empathy for like kids to read and be like, oh, wow, Bowie had to go to a lot of doctor's appointments. Like that must've been hard, or I bet I could do that. Or you're, just, I feel like there's so many different perspectives to take away from this. Also, there's his cheese sandwich with ketchup. And I loved that because it normalizes for parents, like just put it on the plate.
Yeah.
Just let your kid eat for a sec. And so you can focus on your other kids. You can finish meals. Like, let's just get through the meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's awesome. And he's doing great.
He's doing so great.
And then just, again, it's like back to dance parties and what he loves. And we go through this beautiful story. There's actual tips in here about like, here's his morning routine and evening routine and the things that you've done. So it's like very empathetic, empathy building. That's obviously words that are real. I'm making them all up and we're doing it. But it really also gives very tangible tips, even to the point where at the end of the book, also high-fiving the flamingo mailman. Why does this make me emotional? God. When you can't, I'm like, I just want to snuggle this child. God, and your family is just such a beautiful family, but like
Shindig Cafe.
Of course you did. I mean, there's just like and how fun is that?
It's so fun.
Right? Yeah. You're basically like Taylor Swift hiding, what do they call them? Little pearl, what is it? Her little surprises that she hides and everything. Oh, I'm going to think of it and come up later, but I'm obsessed with her. But yeah, but this is so beautiful. And then at the end, it talks again, first of all, the end is Be You Bear. So this is the beautiful balance of it. Is for kids, it is for grownups. It's about challenges. It's about beauty. It's about real tangible tips of what you're doing in your real life, because you've set the stage that you're a real family in here. And then at the end, it's again about your experience. Autism is love. Okay, I'm going to just read this. I feel so blessed to experience life through my son's eyes. Talk about the major shift and the journey that you've been on to go from like, please don't say the A word, to now it is just this beautiful gift to be able to experience life. And like, so for the mom that is in the like hunched over, I don't even want to say the word out loud, you can get to this point. And like, if you like, you have to get there how you have to get there and embrace every bit of it, but that there is light on the other side. For sure. And I love that. That makes me really emotional because that applies to so many things in life, right? The mama bear in me feels saddened when he is misunderstood, but the feeling is replaced tenfold when people see how amazing, bright, and loving he is. I'm hoping to spread a better understanding of autism's challenges, but more importantly, its beauty, which is just the best. And then we get about the author, but then understanding autism spectrum disorder. So we even get into, and like, what are some communication tips and tricks? Like just all these, it is like packed full of knowledge. I reread it yesterday at the doctor's office while I was waiting for Alex at an appointment. And I was just like, I wanted to be like, do you have any Post-it notes? I just want to tab a few pages because literally every page has such intention. And I don't think I've ever read a children's book from the perspective of my friend wrote this. And like with, like normally I'm like, this is cute and this is fun. And I love this picture, but every page is packed with such intention. The illustrations are perfect. I feel like it should be read in every single classroom. And this is such a gift. And you are absolutely doing what you set out to do. There are challenges, just like in everything in life. There are challenges, not to minimize, but like what a beautiful example for anything, for anyone that they're going through. And there's also such beauty in the challenges, and the perspective is everything, and how we get to our perspective, how we have to revisit our perspective, revisit our faith, revisit our conversations with our husbands, the people who support us in our life. I think this has been so important for women to hear. No matter what your child is going through, that there is beauty in it and that you have to meet them where they are and just love the hell out of them.
Right, for sure.
And he is so lucky to have you. And we are also lucky to have your bright, shiny, themed, choreographed life. 5, 6, 7, 8. But Thank you. Is there anything else, if you were to be able to talk to a mom right now who is in the thick of the doctor's appointments, what would you say to her? If you're curling your hair on an Instagram live.
Yeah, it's gonna be okay.
I love that. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Be kind to yourself.
I love that.
Yep.
I love that.
Get a McDonald's ice cream cone.
Yes. Oh my God. Why is the bottom so good?
I don't know.
God's magic.
But yeah, it's gonna be okay. And trust and love the heck out of your kids. And sometimes you just need to go to bed.
Yes.
And wake up to a new day.
I love that.
Take a shower.
Take a shower. Yes. Yes. That's beautiful, you guys. And that applies to so many things in life.
Yeah.
And this is the advice that we need to hear over and over. And I love that. And thank you for being brave enough to come on here. Cause I know it's hard. I actually got interviewed last week and I was like, God, this is hard. Yeah. And for being brave enough and with enough tenacity to write a book and to find your own illustrator and then turn it into an actual book and to advocate for your son and to spread love around something that is both challenging and beautiful. The world is a better place for it.
Thank you. Well, no, I want to thank you so much. I mean, some of these questions you're asking, like, I feel so heard. I feel like it is valuable for women to hear it. So you are a rock star. And so I really appreciate you and everything because you inspire me and encourage me as well.
Thank you. That fills my cup right up to the brim.
Good.
This is why I'm obsessed with doing this podcast. This is the kind of connection that like my soul just craves. And I think that this is so important for women. And it just feels this just keeps me beaming all day long that I'm just going to bounce the rest of the day. Be like, I just got to hang out.
Do that, be you bear, bounce.
Oh, I can't wait to learn that. No one wants to see me dance. Well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it for Ash. Okay. So where can people go find this book? Where can teachers go get this book? How can we get this book in more hands? How do we get this book in our children's hands? Tell me everything.
Yes. So we're coming up in April is Autism Awareness Month, but I think it should be every month.
I agree.
Because I really feel like our book is just such a good, there's so many great organizations around autism and whatever, but I really feel like you said this is just so understandable for everyone. And it really encompasses a lot of different facets of autism.
Yes.
So it's on Amazon right now.
Awesome.
It's $15.99 on Amazon.
Boom.
I'm starting to talk with the bookstores and
that a girl.
We did our book launch at the Book Bus Depot. So we're going to be selling it there, which is in
Awesome.
Sharonville.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
very cool.
Yeah,
very, very
cool. We'll be doing lots of readings, but I'm happy to partner with people and do readings and events. And
yes, I love that. If you're a teacher out there, have Ash come into your classroom and read this book. Because you want this energy in your classroom. I'm like, I just scheduled you. I was like, or you could just read it to your classroom because girls got to get a massage. Take care of herself a little and all of your children in the beautiful, huge life that you lead. But I think this needs to be in classrooms. This needs to be read. Actually, Alex is our student this week and we get to read tomorrow to him, and like his favorite book is Dragons Love Tacos, but I'm going to bring this in too and make sure that it gets read because I think it's beautiful. And I think, if you're a bookstore owner and if you want to carry it, and if you're a mom, get this book, even if your kids honestly, are sort of aged out of the illustrations. I still have read this to all of my kids because one, it was really helpful as a friend of a mom who has a son with autism to understand it more, hopefully support you more and just, be more a part of your life. Cause this is a facet that I haven't lived. So I'm like, now I can have more empathy and understand, which is hugely valuable to me, to my children. So this is a book that should be in everybody's home. Thank you. Yeah. Proud of you.
Thank you.
Oh, you guys. Okay. So where can we follow you on Insta and social?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, BU Bear, and Instagram, B_U_Bear.
Yeah.
Just started the, what am I on now? TikTok or something. I started something.
Right?
TikTok.
Some other social right? I know. I'm like, when did we get this old where I'm like, I don't know how to TikTok. I can do Instagram. I love that. So look for her on social because you have beautiful messages just about the book and about autism. Go get the book in your home and in your classroom. And most importantly, thank you. And what a gift Bear is to this world and for you for being his mama. All right. You guys, thank you. If anyone has questions, can they reach out to you on social? Yeah. Go ahead, slide into those DMs, anything, because I can imagine it is, for all of us who have embarked on new pivots and challenges, it always feels overwhelming. And to have such a beautiful, bright light right here to be able to help you through it, feel free to reach out, get the book, and I don't know, just celebrate Bear and autism and embrace the challenges and everything that is beautiful about it, because these kids absolutely deserve to be celebrated because they are absolute beautiful lights.
Sure.
All right, you guys, that's it. If anyone does have a child who's autistic, if this feels like it resonates with you, if you want to be a better friend and you're like, this was helpful, and send it to your friend group, share this episode, because this is the kind of stuff, these are important conversations for moms to have and moms to hear. So I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And you guys, this is awesome. This has been such a joy and I'm so grateful for it. And that's all I got. So thank you guys, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Well, that's the end of this episode, but promise me, you won't stop here with whatever it is you're feeling or dreaming about. I hope you leave today feeling empowered to live life just as you see fit. If this podcast was helpful to you, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. I genuinely just want to help women live the life they dream about. So if this type of content tracks with you, subscribe to this podcast or visit our website, writeyourOwnstory.co, to download digital courses or to grab a journal and a mug to just dream in and dream with. It's your life, lady. Do you. And just remember, I'm rooting for you and you've totally got this.